every city you burn, I'm gonna build one high.
Greetings, fellow Empyreans. I am Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and I hit all of the wrong buttons getting started, and I am joined today by Norin, who just dropped his camera. Everything's not really working out, but it's the beginning of the year! Happy New Year! Welcome to YC128. This is the Eve Universe Show! We are, welcome. We are actually at an undisclosed location today. I can turn off this display for a second. Where is it? There it is. We are currently in a wormhole at the Harada Oki Bivouac. This is a special site that appears in wormholes kind of randomly right now, starting with somewhere after Havoc, maybe Revenant. But basically the idea is that you can turn in all of the stuff for deathless ships, like these cenotaphs that you can see here and the Tholoses that you can see over here. You know, you can turn those in to the deathless in the fulcrum or near the fulcrum in Zarzak in order to get the doodad, or in order to get those ships. But if you manage to find this bivouac in wormhole space, you can turn stuff in there at a discount. So this is a hell. This is the supercarrier. 99% sure. But yeah, so the Harada Oki is the Thucker tribe that defected and joined the Deathless Circle. And so this is like the Deathless Circle's little bivouac that shows up in wormhole space. And friend of the show and runner of our wormhole informed me today that he knew where this was, and so he rushed out here and got some footage of it. Just wanted to show it to you guys. If you like these kinds of shots for our opening scenes, make sure to like the stream. All right, but today we have some cool stuff to go into, and I have a guest, as you can see. And the guest that we have is he is both a proud member of the Convocation of Empyreans, but also a avid board game player. So what we want to do today, what we're going to do today, for the most part, I have some other stuff prepared and stuff, but one of the things I really want to talk about today is the EVE Online War for New Eden board game, which came out finally, and I received my copy of it. I've got tons of it. I've got, I was going to do like an unboxing, but there's so much. There was so much, and it's highly detailed. And so rather than do like an unboxing thing, I just decided to carefully take pictures of everything I possibly could, and then sit here and talk to you guys about it with my buddy, who is a hardcore board game enthusiast. So first of all, welcome, Norin. Thank you for joining us.
Glad to be here. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna wet my whistle real quick.
Sure. Oh, what? Look at
Mountain
that.
Dew tastes so much better in one of these.
Merch. Not even planned. Kind of not even planned. Not fully planned. No. I've got my Convocation of Empyreans mug here. You've got your Mauro mug. Both of those are available. There's so many minis to paint, and I love them. Yeah, I actually... that is something I definitely want to do. And so we've got all of our boxes. I've got all of the stuff. I've got really tight pictures for us to go over, and we're going to talk about everything to do with this game, although neither of us have actually played it yet. So that'll be the bonus content for later. One of the things that we have been working on setting up, if you're excited, is, first of all, so I didn't want to do a big presentation about this board game if it was not available, right? Like, that was one of the things I had with a problem with the 20th anniversary box set. Like, by the time I got it, and I did the unboxing or whatever, and it's just like, hey, look at this cool thing I have that you can't have because it's not available anymore. Isn't that cool? And that sucked. So I wanted to make sure that it was in fact available before I showed it off to you, because that made it so that the recommendation to either get it or not get it means something, because you actually can get it and not just, you know, be the poor boy on the outside going, oh man, I really wish I got that. So we did check.
Yeah, right now it's available a few different ways.
Yes.
So first of all, and as a board game enthusiast, I'm going to highlight this as the best way to get any of your board games. Go to your friendly local game shop. I was in mine this weekend spending a gift card that I got over Christmas, and there on the same shelf as the ISS Vanguard game I was picking up, there was the Eve game sitting. So it's in stores right now.
Yep, we got somebody in chat saying his local game store has 10 copies too. So
Yeah,
this is something that you absolutely can pick up if you want to. And spoiler alert, if you are a big fan of like the models, it's probably going to be worth it just for them. But we're going to look at that.
Yeah, and when we get to the bling section of talking about expansions, there's actually some upgraded models too. The second way you can get it is, as you're showing there, the pledge manager is still open for late pledges. So you can still go to Titan Forge Games, they're the company that produced it, and off of their website, grab a copy.
I actually am at the evewarforneweden.com, which I just posted in Discord, and I'm going to actually add it to the comments of the video, I think.
And that's going to be really good, because while from what I'm seeing so far in shops, it looks like the core game is fairly well stocked. Some of the expansions are less thoroughly stocked, so that might be a good way for folks to pick up expansions.
Right. And so we're going to talk about all these different pieces, and that is true. You can see here that there's actually, so there's the main board game, and then there's the Havoc expansion, the Titan expansion, the Succession expansion, and then the rest of these are kind of just cosmetics, right?
Well, the Azrael is also content expansion.
That's true. The Azrael is kind of like a combination of the Havoc expansion and the Titan expansion, basically.
Yes, it lets the Deathless play with Titans too, which I'm sure that's a good thing.
Right. And so we're and I got everything besides Succession. You got all of them, including Succession.
Well, I got the exact same package you did. Okay.
Right. Originally, and then realized, oh, wait a minute, Succession isn't here, so I ran off and grabbed Succession separately through the late pledge manager. Right. So Succession I have. Before we even begin, I just want to point out, like, just the scale of this game. Actually, let me pull up. Oh, no. Before we actually jump into the game, let's actually talk a little bit about you. Oh, okay. Since you walked away. No, I was going to grab the box top to show. Here's half the box. So Norin, no, I've got it right here. Norin wanted to make sure that everybody understood that he is a for realsy board game enthusiast, and therefore he provided and a for realsy Eve player. And a for realsy Eve player. But I've got pictures of his board game area. So here we go. This is picture number 1. This is like in your house, right? Like this isn't. Yes. That's more board games than some board game shops. Just throwing that out there. Yes, my family recently moved into a larger house that gave me room to have a dedicated board game area. We also ended up with an extra bedroom, which became board game overflow storage. When I die, a game cafe is going to have a very good day. Yeah. You also got some cool statues back there. Yeah, those are game pieces. Those are the cool statues back there. That is a Phoenix from Kingdom Death Monster, and a couple of scenery pieces from the skirmish game Marvel Crisis Protocol. Wild. Okay, so you are, as they say, a board gamer, and this is a board game. Yes. So like the scale of this thing. What? Sorry. Pan back over, you briefly showed the bottom of the shelves on the right-hand side. There's something I want to call out. Okay.
that Star Trek ascendancy there is going to be relevant to the conversation.
All right. Yeah, because that's basically the closest thing you said as far as like board game goes.
It's a game in the same general category that I would put War for New Eden.
Okay, great. And we have this video here, which I should have put all these things in the description, but I will later, maybe? Hold on. Can I? Something's being really weird about me being able to edit my own description at the moment because YouTube's changed their format. So we will be able to look at stuff here. We'll be able to look at stuff that I've taken pictures of, etc. But yeah, to begin, let's go ahead and show off just how much this stuff is, just like broadly. Yeah. Let's see. This is the whole set. A picture like in my living room. You can, whatever. So, and just to make sure that we understand the scale of stuff, this is the main box. It's like a giant. It's a giant cube.
It's almost over a foot to a side, I think. Oop, upside down.
That's half of it. That's half the depth.
This is the lid. This is the lid, and it's about as tall as it is wide and broad. It's almost the perfect cube.
So it is by far the highest grade board game I have ever gotten. Right, like that, and that is one of the things is that this board game, I was saying, is really a product of the board game revolution with Kickstarter that happened over the the 2010s, followed up by the supercharging of these kinds of things with COVID and everything, as everybody, like, board games became taken seriously on a level that has never happened historically. And so the idea that this entire set is what, like $230, I think, for all of the pieces that we see here, I think it was. And boy, let me just say right now, I've been trying to track down, it's been a long time since I got since we put in the order for this stuff, so I legitimately forgot who originally gave me the stuff to be, or the money to be able to get this board game. I've asked the people that I thought it was, and they said no, so now I don't remember. So if you are the person, I really, really, really want to give you credit. Let me know. But no, so this is the whole thing is $230. Just the basic box game is
a lot of content.
A lot of content, but how much is just the base box game? Do you know?
Should be on the pledge manager.
Looks like $129.
Yeah.
For just the base game, and it does come with skins, which we can look at the skins in a little bit. 170 at the local store. So so that's 170 for the base game, and then all of the packs except for the Succession is right now 220 pounds. I'm not 100% sure how that translates into dollars. But then you can also buy stuff separately. Oh God, I do have to get the Succession.
Succession, when it comes to replay value in this thing, Succession is going to add a lot.
Okay.
Do we want to touch on exactly what kind of game it really is?
Sure. Why don't you do that while I pull up some pictures of the models? You can talk about the actual game.
So my description of this game, okay, this is not off of Board Game Geek, which is another great place to go look for things if you want to see more about the game. My description of the game would be to call it a 4X grand strategy action management point salad, which is a whole bunch of words.
Salad.
Beg pardon? That was a word salad. Yes. So let's break down what that means. Okay, a 4X game is a game where the core mechanics are around explore, expand, exploit, exterminate. The term originally arose in the world of computer games with things like Civilization or Age of Wonder 4, which I know we have several fans of. In the world of board games, the comparable games would be either Twilight Imperium by Fantasy Flight Games, which is considered kind of the classic 4X game, or as I'd mentioned before when you were showing things, Star Trek Ascendancy, which is a 4X game using the Star Trek IP. In all these games, you start with a small empire, you explore an unknown board, and you then begin exploiting and exploiting the resources you find there, expanding your empire, and once you come into contact with your opponents, you do your best to exterminate them. Grand strategy, the grand strategy part of what I said speaks to the scale. You are not running a colony or a single ship. You are running one of the 4 grand empires of Eve. Again, comparable to Ascendancy, Star Trek Ascendancy, where you play as the entire Federation or the entire Klingon Empire.
Right.
Action management speaks to the core mechanic of the game during turns. You have a finite number of actions that you need to use intelligently to accomplish your 4X goals. And then I say point salad because at the end of the day, it's a game where the most points win. And there are lots of ways to get those points. You can beat folks in combat. You can occupy enemy systems. You can build structures in your own systems. There's lots of different things you can do to get the points. So there's not one strategy for how you're going to win.
Are different empires better or more like accustomed to different strategies? Or are they all pretty much on the same footing?
I can't totally answer that question having not played yet. I'll tell you my impression from looking at things. In the base box, the core capabilities of all the empires are very similar. They all have the same income and such as that. They do, some of the things that you have in the game are each empire has its own deck of strategies, and each empire has its own deck of developments that you're using. You're using the strategies and fights, and the developments are basically your tech tree.
And its own ships, though, right? Like,
and its own ships, yes, and its own ships.
And they have their own unique stats, so it may in fact be that some are different than others.
And like, for example, just thumbing through the decks, part of my Eve story is that I am Galente to the core, even though I want to burn the current Galente government.
We covered that a couple days ago, by the way, if you guys are interested.
Yeah, that's why I only made it as a passing comment. One of the strategy cards in the Galente deck is Pacifist, where you win a fight by disengaging from it. That's a very Galente thing.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, here we go. So there's these different development decks. I actually didn't open these up yet. So there's one for each race. Let me open it up. That's one of the things that makes these...
Let me see if I can fish mine out of the box. Where did that particular tray go?
So, and we can see here, like, I've pulled up some pictures already. Like, these models are exceptionally well done for what they are. There were a couple of misprints in my copy, which is, I mean, almost to be expected. You can see here that, hold on. You can see with this one, like on the right, we have a proper Cerberus. And then on the left, I have a Cerberus that got a little bit extra. As Malak put it last night, I have a Cerberus and a Cerb. It got a little cut off. All right, hold on. So we've got. And this is a
I had a similar thing that I've figured out is a bit of a misprint or mismold on my Deathless Titan. That will come to when we talk on the expansions a bit.
TL mentioned something that is really good though, which is that, like, one of the things about this box set is that even though it's big because it comes with so much organization. Like,
yes,
not only are all of the models, like, why would I choose Galente, which is green, to show that off? Hold on. Let me...
I've got the Minmatar and Amaran trait raised up. This is
not only does everything have its exact spot that's like actually good for it, but there's a really nice lid that goes on everything, and everything packages up very, very well.
And it comes with some extra. This is I have gotten several overproduced Kickstarters in the course of my career, of my gaming career. I did an all-in Kickstarter for Zombicide, the Wild West version of Zombicide and such as that. This is probably the best packed I've seen, and they even give you one just empty tray to put more things in. Now, part of that was getting around a packing problem they had, in that they had to put all the punch boards somewhere. But at the end of the day, I mean, I have my markers. One of the things I got was the updated Empire markers for marking which tiles on the board are yours. I have a place to put them in the core box, and I can take that box and not have it take up shelf space. I could have done the same thing with the box for the updated resource tokens, but I'm a miner at heart. I'm going to frame that picture.
Yeah, that's a good there's some good artwork in this too. But so you can see here, like, this is all of the trays that come in the box set. So not only does all of the ships have their own specific place, all the tiles have their own specific place, all the cards have their own specific place, but then there's also the extra tray to store all your extra doodads and stuff. So, like, construction-wise, it's really, really good. And even though I did point out that one misprint, you can actually see in this photo that I'm showing right here, the level of detail, considering how big these guys are. Like, so you can see here, here's the Celestis. Here's the actual Celestis in, like, real life. You can my nose for scale, like, this thing is also green. I don't know why I chose Galente. I keep choosing Galente to show things off.
Probably because you're talking to the dedicated Galente guy.
Probably. Let me pick a different one.
And I've got to correct myself. I just looked through the strategies. I think that pacifism that I was talking about may be a objective card, not a strategy card, because I'm not seeing it now among my strategy cards. So I will correct myself there.
So actually, with those caracals that I showed off, or not caracals, Cerberuses, which, whatever, we can see, like, this thing. Here's my finger compared to the actual size of this thing. And we can see that, like, the actual detail on it.
There's a Aldari ship on my nose.
Yeah.
Because I happen to have the Caldari tray open beside me.
Now, but that does bring up an interesting point, which is one of the things that we figured out pretty late on yesterday. Is that all of the ships in this setup are actually the Tech 2 variety.
Yeah. I picked up on that because before I looked hard at the model, I looked at the cards, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. It's got a Helios.
Right.
Because, again, in EVE, I'm an avid explorer. And I've previously quit EVE a couple of times because I got bored. One thing I'm doing this trip through EVE is my version of don't fly what you can't lose is don't fly what you can't build. So I, despite having been back for a couple of years, only just got into a Helios recently.
Yeah, which is a pretty crazy way of playing the game, but you've also been in the game a few times, so, like,
yeah, I mean,
you're in challenge mode.
I played the game when every Empire had its own mining frigate. I was actually there year one. I would say that I mined uphill through the snow both ways, but right now we're all mining in the snow. I left the game soon after it first came out because I'm one of the folks that fell off the learning curve cliff. I came back right around when wormholes were introduced and was very active with EVE University. And then just a couple of years ago, I stumbled across this really weird video on YouTube called Welcome Back to EVE. I can't remember who made it.
Returning to EVE, watch this first.
Yeah, Returning to EVE, watch this first. That was it. I don't know who made that thing. Some guy I know. But all kidding aside, that brought me back into EVE and actually brought me to the convocation as well, since I felt like, hey, you brought me back. You get the benefits of my labor.
Nice, yes. And the convocation is recruiting, by the way, and Norin is actually runs one of the programs that makes it worthwhile to join, potentially. Norin does a... We lost your video.
Thank you.
Norin does a free ship program. So within the convocation, if you remember, you can get free basic Abyss ships, basic mining ships, Sino Ventures, exploration ships, etc. They're available fit for free. They're produced all by Norin with some help from some other people now, I think. But it's just one of those things that, like, you know, we say that Convocation Empyreans is here to maximize player engagement with EVE Online, and that's one of the ways that we do it. And I really appreciate him doing that. He did it all. He's done it all on his own. But it is one of the benefits of being part of the Convocation.
Yeah, it started out as an extension of one of the things that I did when I was with EVE University. I was very active with the mining campus, and always having a mining ship of some sort available to anyone, no matter where they were in their career, was something hallmarks. So it started out as me wanting to do that kind of a thing again. And then when other folks in the convocation said, hey, I want to lend a hand, that's when I reached out to you and said, well, other people are contributing. Let's make this official so I don't feel like I'm just taking people's stuff.
Yeah. Well, jumping back to the game a little bit,
Yes.
the thing that tipped me off that they were Tech 2 were these ships here. This was it. This was the breaking point for me, because these here are clearly flycatchers. These are not cormorants. And you can tell that because the little little nodules going up and down. And the reason why this is what kicked me off that this was an important fact, because like they had to model these things. You know, there, like I said, there was that defect on the caracal. So these extra little spikes up and down, these extra little doodads, like you wouldn't model those unless you had to, you know? Like they had the option to just make it a cormorant and not have those little nodes. But they chose to have those little spikes, which makes production a lot more difficult, I would assume.
Yep.
But does make it a flycatcher instead of a cormorant. So that, like, and then of course, you know, we looked at, like, say, as I just showed off, this is very clearly a golem and not a raven. You can tell by the head and stuff like that. So we were playing a fun little game of, like, telling the difference between the different ships, because some ships are easier to identify, the Tech 1 versus the Tech 2. But you can see here, this is not a stabber. This is a vagabond. And you can tell because the vagabond has little frills and the stabber does not. Thank you to Rick's Javix.
The cards are what told me when I saw Helios instead of the Tech 1.
Yeah, the cards definitely confirm it, but the point is that you can actually look at all of these models. Like this is very clearly a the Marauder, Vargar, and not and that's the thing, is that at one point I was trying to you would think that the base models would be a T1 so they could do T2 expansions. I really, one of the things I'm curious about is to see, like, what came first, the chicken or the egg, because the skins that they give out for this are also all the Tech 2. Right?
I'm pretty sure I know the answer on that one, because as I recall, when I backed the game, exactly which skins you were going to get was still an unknown.
Well, they put these in really early, though. I don't know. It's just interesting. I don't know why they went with wait a minute, hold on, hold on, I just noticed something. Yeah, there are skins for the War for New Eden that I did not get.
Oh, I missed that too. See, now I'm one of those folks that doesn't get that excited over skins. If the skin makes the rock melt faster, then I care.
Well, so one of the things I know, okay, whenever I see like a smattering of ships, I always try to figure out, like, what's the pattern, right? And the thing that I ran into as a problem is that the caracal is hold on, actually, let me not be dumb. Pull up the ship tree. The caracal is the attack cruiser, where the Vexor is the combat cruiser. So I was like, well, because, like, it's all of the exploration frigates, and all of the basic destroyer and all of the combat battle cruisers, because it's all kind of the earlier stuff. But like, what's the pattern here? The difference, like, all I can say is like, okay, well, it's the Caracal's the most iconic, the Vexor's the most iconic. Technically, you would think it would be a Thorax, but if you understand them as being Tech 2, then they suddenly make a lot more sense, right? It's not the Imicus, it's the Helios. It's not the, and so it's not a Tristan, because the Tristan doesn't have a Tech 2 directly. It turns into the Stealth Bomber, which looks different. But the Atron becomes the Ares, which is what it actually is in the game. So the pattern is it's the Tech 2 stuff, is in the Tech 2, not in the Tech 1. And so if you try to understand it from a Tech 1 perspective, it doesn't quite work.
And I think the main reason why they probably excluded the Tech 1 stuff, I mean, that would have been an interesting expansion path, either in the content of the game, in terms of you could have developed something and all of your Tech 1 ships turn into Tech 2, or in terms of published expansions. For so many of these ships, the differences are so minor, modeling them, I mean, Helios versus Imicus being a great example, modeling them would have been a challenge. So they just went with Tech 2 across the board.
And a little bit of a spoiler, but in the Havoc expansion, they give you Angel and Garistus ships. But that does mean that you do have a Nighthawk and an Alligator, where the only visible difference is one is blue and the other is the Deathless Tan. But I actually really appreciate the Deathless ships, because like that means that, so there's no Corax in the base Caldari setup. And there's no and there's no Merlin Hawk setup, but there is a Worm, and there is a whatever the Mamba, Mamba, which look the same. So you do get extra models of the other stuff. So no Tormentor. That's true. There is no Tormentor. But what's weird is that what I'm looking at here is that I got the Ishtar and the Kronos, but there is one. I noticed that there is no Myrmidon, right? Because there's only one battle cruiser of each. So you get a Brutix, or rather an Astarte. I keep on wanting to bring up green stuff. But
I mean, green is the best color in the game. I mean, it is,
but it's the worst color for my green screen. So you do get an Astarte, but you don't get an Eos, and I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. But there is an Eos skin for the War for New Eden, but I didn't get it. It didn't come with the pack. That's weird. Yeah. That makes me wonder.
I wonder if it was random what you got.
No.
I would launch my copy to see exactly which skins I got, but I'm worried it'd crash Discord.
No, that's fair. I just find it odd that like that's also the one that isn't in the game, isn't in the board game.
True enough.
Same with the Naga and the NATO. And which is funny because they went with the attack battle cruisers for the other ones. That's even weirder.
I also, now I am not a very skilled PvPer in EVE at all. One of the things that made me smile when I was going through the mission cards was the fact that
it's sacrilege.
Card.
Sorry.
Beg pardon?
I was like, what is the fourth one that isn't there? And I realized it's actually the sacrilege.
Sorry, when I was glancing at the mission cards, I felt very good to see that the one of the missions is Care Bear, which is just mine asteroids. I don't necessarily think that the cards, the stats on the cards strike me as having been clearly influenced by EVE, but written to be a balanced board game, which is something else. Again, neither of us have a chance to play it yet, so we can't really swear to this, but that is something that I think is very important anytime someone's dealing with an IP that also has a game element to it. They didn't simply try to replicate the computer game on the board. They wrote a good board game using the computer game's IP.
You mean they didn't give the Dragoon rapid light missiles? Oh God, I don't remember exact examples, but Eve Galaxy Conquest ships are creative with how they represent the Eve Online ships, by the way. But speaking of which, I have actually jumped back into Eve Galaxy Conquest, and so we'll probably be talking about it more soon, but that's not what we're talking about today. But yeah, no, the Eve Galaxy Conquest translations of the ships are just creative license.
I got to respond to a comment real quick. Someone
Sure.
took my green is the best color in the game, saying that showed I played Magic the Gathering. Piece of trivia for you: I was one of the first judges to pass the exam to be an official judge for the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour on the East Coast.
I was a CTI judge for a while too.
I originally became an official judge so that I could host tournaments for the kids in my apartment complex. I have not touched Magic the Gathering for years. The closest I come to it nowadays is that I play a whole lot of a living card game, which is kind of like a second cousin to collectible card games, called Arkham Horror the Card Game.
So I'm looking at the different, I've got the 4 Blops battleships right now. And I'm glancing at them. Whoopsie.
Yeah,
and I can, first of all, I can say that all of them have the exact same stats. And they have the same top ability. They have the same move action ability thing. But then the leader ability is what changes. So like the Amar one says leader's abilities of all enemies supporting ships in its orbit have no effect. The Widow says at the end of combat, before the winner is determined, destroy one opposing small ship from any orbit. The Sin says at the end of each combat round, it removes up to 2 damaging tokens from any one ship. And the Panther is if the ship is destroyed, at no extra cost, you may add up to 2 small ships to an orbit of your choice. So they are strategically different, and they are thematically pretty close to what the ships do. The Sin being more remote rep. What?
So two things though in calling out on that. Number one, yes, they're thematically different, and you can feel the flavor of the empires in that, but they're not. They're still balanced.
Yeah, they have the same stats, the same base stats.
They have the same base stats.
It's only one difference.
Yeah, and there's nothing there that says, oh my gosh, this makes this one infinitely better than the others.
Correct.
The other thing is that you don't necessarily get all of that when you first build the ships. So first of all, these are large hulls. So you have to have researched large ship construction to build them at all, which means you have to have researched medium ship construction. That's a prerequisite for large. And those special abilities have other tech dependencies as well. So when you go onto the field with one of these, you may not have unlocked that leader ability yet.
Yeah, and I'm picking these out just to like compare and contrast at the top end of things. So if I'm looking at the Marauders, I see once again they all have the same. Wait, nope, they do not have the same stats. The sup stat, which I assume is support, is 2 on the Vargar and the Kronos, a 1 on the Paladin, and a 3 on the Golem. With all the other stats being the same, actually. So the Golem just has a higher stat, the Paladin has a lower stat, and the other 2 are the in between. And then their top ability is the same. Their second ability is different. And their third ability is the same. So the only difference is the second ability, which is, or the only ability difference. With the Kronos, after it is destroyed, do not remove it from its orbit until the end of the combat round. The Vargar says after it destroys a ship, assign a remaining damage of all other ships had to 0 defense, or DIF. I assume that's defense. Well, no, that'd be DEF, right? DIF? What's DIF?
Rulebook, hang on.
Difference?
Let me glance at the ship cards in the rulebook.
And then the Paladin says adds its sup to all other orbits. That's interesting because that's also the one that has the lowest sup stat. That's the one with a
But-
1 sup
but-
stat.
But yeah, and that strikes me as a piece of that balance because
Right.
while it it's lower, you're getting it 3 times.
Right. And then the Golem has enemy ships in orbit has -1 diff. So yeah, they are different in very mild ways, but I assume that across the board, it's going to make the 4 different empires at least play to different strengths, probably, which I think would be really cool.
And I
so
think part of that's going to come across. And again, this is us partly speaking from speculation because neither of us have managed to get the game to the table yet. I think you're going to find that each empire excels in a specific orbit.
right. Oh, in orbit? Okay.
Because at the start of the fight, you pick which orbits things are in, and I'm expecting
it.
that I'm expecting that there's going to be a degree of you want the smaller ships in the tighter orbits, like in the game.
Right.
And there's going to be some things like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Caldari performing better in the orbits further back because they're the missile boats.
Right.
But which stat was it you were asking what the acronym stood for?
Diff? D-I-F?
Difficulty. How hard it is to lock the
Oh.
ship. That's
Okay.
and that gets into some of the ECM stuff. Because I know there's
does not-
ECM text in the tech deck.
The battle section doesn't actually show any visuals, it doesn't look like, so we're not gonna...
Yeah, that's the fighting section. To me, it's the murkiest because number one, in Eve itself, like I said, I'm a Care Bear. If I'm in a fight, my strategy is typically how can I run away the best. In this game, all the tutorial videos, what you're showing, the one from Good Time Society that Becca Scott did, that's the best explanation of the game that I've seen. And asterisk on it, it was prepared before the Kickstarter completed, so there could be differences. But even they don't go deep into the combat. It's at a high level, the combat is that when you go in, the ships that are involved are assigned to orbits. You then go orbit by orbit, resolving the combat by each side, rolling dice for what's there and comparing the results. And you figure out who did the most damage at the end.
Okay. All right. So that is actually a big question. So like we have been talking about doing this
Yes.
with Tabletop Simulator. So
that
one of the things I am interested in, I need to hear from people. I need to hear interest from people. We would actually like to do a live play of the board game using Tabletop Simulator. So what we're going to need from that is, one, I'm going to need to hear from you guys that you guys are actually interested in us doing that, for us to go through all of the effort to make it work, which Norin's already put in quite a bit of effort to make it work. And we also need 2 to 3 more players. Let's talk a little bit about what it actually takes to play this game and why we haven't played it yet. Or why you haven't played it yet.
So part of it is player count, okay? And then let's also separately address Tabletop Simulator from that. This is a game that the authors have stated is balanced for 4 players. They intend for the game to be played with 4 players, or optionally 5 if you add in Havoc, okay?
Right.
That's what it's tuned for. They have alternate board setups in the manual for doing 2 or 3 players. You also can do 2 or 3 players by working off of the classic alliances. Like you could do a 2-player game by having 2 different people play 2-handed with Amar and Caldari against Minmatar and Galente. Or if you have 3 players, you could have one guy be 2-handed while the other 2 folks are each running one empire cooperatively, not opposing each other.
It's also worth noting that this game manual is a fucking book.
Oh yeah, this is and that's actually,
it's 35 pages.
When it comes to this can feel like it's not that much. Okay, one of the games that I got with a gift card for as a Christmas gift is something called ISS Vanguard. Its manual is just as long, and then it has a logbook, and then it has a planet book, and then it has a stellar map book.
So,
So
hold on, did you, when I was a kid, did you ever read or watch Rugrats?
a little bit.
There's this old episode of Rugrats where they're playing this board game, and it's it's making fun of convoluted board games with lots and lots of rules. This feels dangerously close to one of those games. Just with the amount of setup, the amount of rules and everything. This is not for your casual, hey, let's play games with a family.
And that's part of the barrier to entry. My wife is also a board gamer. She'd have lost her mind otherwise. She will not play this with me. She will not touch Twilight Imperium. She will not touch Star Trek Ascendancy. Those are games that just she very often, when I suggest we play them, jokes, says, if you want to have a game with spreadsheets, go play Eve.
And it's a 2 to 3 hour game.
Yes, that's the other thing. Now, Twilight Imperium is worse. Let's recognize that when I say this is comparable to Twilight Imperium. Twilight Imperium, that is a game that is notorious for consuming an entire weekend. The lengthwise, Star Trek Ascendancy is much closer, but it is a significant time commitment.
And table commitment.
That's the other thing, table footprint. I think you made the comment when we were discussing things early that, you might set this up on a card table, and I said, how big a card table have you got? I, just for purposes of really looking at this, if you go back to that shot of my game room with Havoc, it filled the table.
Oh boy.
The area of the main map is fairly significant, and then you need to have an area for each empire to then spread out its action board and its decks and have a place to put its cards and such. It's a beefy little boy. Now, one thing that I'll also say in compliment to them is that a lot of the information you need to reference as you're playing has been incorporated into the board.
Here's a good picture that shows how poorly it fits on a normal a tabletop.
Yeah. And then, of course, if you're also adding in the Titans then add their own boards. And, if you're doing the Deathless with the Titans, you need to have the Azrael. So now the Deathless player has another board to juggle.
Also here you can see that they did release like a larger model upgrade version, which neither of us got, but you can see here, like down here is a Cerberus that I got, and up here is the Cerberus that you get if you buy the large models. I don't know if you can still get those or whatever, but like that is the difference. And I did not get the large models because I wanted to see exactly what a normal person gets.
I deliberately didn't get the large models or the structure models because one of the expansion packs is you can add structures to your systems in the game, and one of the expansion packs replaces those cardboard chits with models.
Right. There's actually 3 graphical upgrade pieces. Sorry, go on.
Yes. I deliberately didn't get that set of stuff or the bigger models because I looked at this thing and said, my table's going to be groaning as it is. let's not pour gas on that fire.
One thing that you do get from the Kickstarter is they gave us this pink Keep Star.
There's got to be a reason why they chose pink. I wish I knew what that was.
If I remember correctly, it's because as soon as they started skinning the keep, like allowing ship skinner, like that was like the most popular.
Oh, pink. Okay.
Thing to do is skin your Keep Star in particular.
Yep.
Pink.
Okay. When my Keep Star being pink, not that I'd ever own one, makes it harder to shoot, I'll care.
Man, people would get so mad if skins actually had a combat impact.
Yeah, I know. I'm from a game balance perspective, but like some of the other things in the base game, the resources are represented with cards.
Hmm.
You can replace that. Like for example, here is the Morphite card. So this is a unit of Morphite that you have mined in the game, or you can use the upgraded resources that give you a tiny model for Morphite. Now,
Right.
this I actually liked because when it comes to going back to table management, the little graphic things are these little guys are smaller than the cards. So that makes life a little bit easier on that front. I also that's the one that was packaged in the box that I love the art for. So I was going to buy that to get the art no matter what.
So yeah, I have hold on, let me pull up some pictures of this stuff. So there are the territorial claim units, which look like this. The box looks like this, and the actual individual pieces, I still have them in the bag in my hand just so you can see the proportion of them.
Yep.
And then these are fine, but the resource ones I think are actually kind of the winner.
Yeah, they're the best of the cosmetic stuff. Okay, now you can look at the cosmetic stuff through two different lenses. Is it cool in just a cool factor sense, and is it something that actively contributes to the gameplay? I always look at things through the lens of, is it actively contributing to gameplay? Another example from another game I've been playing a fair deal recently is a game called Vantage, where you're exploring a planet that you've crashed on. It has multiple upgrades. One is metal coins that are identical to the cardboard coins and don't add anything except weight. One is wooden skill tokens that are identical to the cardboard tokens and don't add any gameplay mechanics. And then there is one that is a player board that replaces you having to build a loose tableau of cards. It has recesses to put the cards for your equipment and such in. That's useful. That actually helps the gameplay better. I own one of those expansions. No money for guessing what one.
Yeah. No, I actually really like the resource upgrades just because I feel like having a whole bunch of tokens all over the place can feel really busy. And so having the different resources visible will make it easier to kind of visually identify what's going on. By the way, speaking of all of these doodads, I do want to point out, so like you were looking into this, there is, as we said, you can play it on Tabletop Simulator.
Yes.
But what they've done is they've just imported all of the assets, not any of the actual mechanics. So you'd still have to like run everything very manually, which is why I said we're having to put in a lot of work to make it happen. And please don't do anything about it, CCP.
Yeah, well, or Titan Forge Games, the folks that make the game, because it's available through the Steam Workshop. Okay, so what do you need to do to play this on Tabletop Simulator? Number one, you need to own Tabletop Simulator. That's available on Steam. You then need to pull War for New Eden off of the workshop. Don't just search on Eve; it will return too many results. Search on War for New Eden. When you get in there, it is everything expansion-wise except for the cosmetic expansions and Succession. Okay, Succession is not in there from what I saw.
Why is Succession such a weird oddity compared to the rest of them? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head, because it's great. We'll talk about Succession in a second.
Yeah.
The one bit of scripting that they did was they attempted to establish a hexagonal grid with grid snap. Okay?
Okay.
For the tiles, it works great. For the frame, it's a bloody nightmare. It doesn't snap correctly. So I had to go in and turn off the grid snap on all the pieces of the frame and try to manually fiddle them in place. It should also be noted that Tabletop Simulator, it's very good. It's incredibly flexible. Its UI takes a lot of getting used to.
Right. So that is an option for you guys. But like I said, there's so many really, really high quality models in this. If you've ever wanted to just have your little collection of EVE Online models, then this is great. And the number one, I'm transitioning.
Mhm.
is like, I'm telling you, even if you don't want to get the fucking game, if you don't care about the game at all,
Exactly what I was going to say.
let's consider the Titan expansion for a second.
Oh, let's also consider the big ship boxes. The big
yeah,
ship
that's true.
boxes are terrible from a gameplay perspective. But if you want a whole bunch of ships in your favorite empire, and especially if you're a modeler and you like painting and you want to skin them in the real world, get the big ships. The fact that they're big won't hinder your gameplay, but will absolutely make them look cool. And let me get my Titan box
But on the topic of big ships, though,
out.
the Titan ones are fucking impressive. So we looked at the
yes.
little ones, like the little guys, like the battleships are maybe this big. Here is the smallest of the Titans, which would be the Avatar. Oh my god, why is yellow? Hold on. We'll just look at green screen for a second. Hold on. Fuck it. Webcam. Properties. No.
As everyone watches me fuddling around, I don't have a green screen, so I don't mind showing the green ship.
You're not on. Oh, yeah, that's true. I'm just going to turn off my chroma key. Yep. So here is the Avatar, and that is the Erebus. And here is the second to largest Titan, the Leviathan. Whoop. Here they are, like, against each other. Hold on. There we go. And that is the Ragnarok is the largest one.
And just like in Eve, Galente and Minmatar have the coolest stuff. Just saying. Now, and something that's very interesting with these guys mechanically. Okay, so let's talk about how these guys work gameplay wise. Okay, first of all, you'll notice the unusual base that they have. This ship spans 2 hexes. So when you're playing in the game and you move your Titan, it is influencing what's happening in 2 different hexes. Okay?
Right.
To get the Titan in the first place, you have to research the right text in game, and those texts comes with the Titan box, and you then have to build it in segments. This is, after you've completed your first construction job, this is all that you get. And then you add in I think it's the tail next, and then the upper section, and then the front. And this is all snapped together with magnets. Now, when I originally got mine, this bothered me because it felt fiddly and frail. I was judging it based off of my Azrael, the Deathless Titan. That is the one place where I got a misprint on the models. One part of my Azrael is not formed correctly to where it doesn't come together correctly. So don't judge my experience on this. These things are really cool. And something synergy-wise, this is for almost everything in the game. You have to spend your resources as you get them. The Titan's the exception. You can accumulate the resources to build the components of the Titan over multiple turns.
That's cool.
And when you've got your board laid out and you're using the upgraded mineral markers, that's going to look awesome.
Let me shrink that a little bit. So this is the Azrael Titan box. So this is separate. So basically you have to get both the Deathless expansion and the Titan expansion to be able to justify getting the Azrael Titan, which, just so you know, is significantly smaller than the rest of the Titans.
Yep.
Even more concerning that they're not queuing the Titan model. So Havoc, I'm going to show you a little bit. There is the Azrael Titan is by far kind of the most questionable of all of the way that they did the builds. It's not even so much that it's a misprint. Yeah, so just so we see it.
Mine was a definite misprint. In my case, I definitely got a misprint.
I mean, that's fair. But even with my case, like the way that it slides together, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this, but like it comes together in these 2 pieces and then comes apart like this. So it has to like come together in a very awkward way that kind of has to fight against its own setup. And then so if you have any misprint in, see, like I actually have difficulty putting on my left side too. So I don't know if I necessarily even call it a misprint. It's just it's really I can't quite, like if I try to just put it you can see here.
For me, it's the right side, and I don't know how well the camera is going to show it, but I'm already starting to show stress on this thin part of the model.
Yeah,
so that's why I think it's a misprint.
It's actually kind of hard to slide them together. I'm saying like not only is it a like you might have a misprint, but it's also just kind of a tricky fit even under optimal conditions, because it needs to like slide in there, but then also it has that hook there, so like it doesn't actually go together quite right without a lot of fiddling. So there, I got it to finally stick. So that is something to keep in mind when it comes to this build. But honestly, this is almost the exception that proves the rule. That one's one thing about
the Titans in general, you get these gorgeous art prints of each. And from a game mechanic thing, I mentioned before that the core mechanic, the main thing that you're managing as you play, is your action economy. When you build a Titan, you get an extra action that is assigned just to your Titan. And the Titan has special things only it can do, such as operate the Doomsday weapon.
Let's see.
Yeah, I think the Titan content was very, very well done. I mean, other than the little, as we said, the little bit of fiddliness with the manufacturer on the Azrael. Now, it should also be noted, as long as we're talking about the Azrael, do you want to touch
upside down? But go on. Yeah, we're going to get to the Havoc expansion.
We're
going to get to the Havoc expansion next. I'm just pulling up the pictures of the Titans so that way people can see. Let me actually put back on my green screen.
You can tell I'm not the professional. I don't have a green blanket behind me.
So yeah, no, the whole like you have to build the Titan in pieces thing is actually super cool. So here are the 4 Titans, and then here are
like
the Titans in pieces.
Yep. And this also adds new text to your tech deck. And one thing to be clear, the the tech exploration aspect of this game is one of its most strategic elements. You don't randomly draw technologies out of the deck. You choose which cards you want to use, you want to be researching, and you lay them face down at the top of your board. So you know what text you're working on, but your opponents don't.
That's cool. Okay, that's good. All right, so and of course the Azrael also comes with a base, but its base is removable because of just because of how it's stored.
How it's packed. Yeah, how the box is packed. Yeah.
Actually, let me pull up a couple of good pictures of the Azrael that I took separately.
No, it's real funny that those of you who are longtime viewers of this channel may be aware that its proprietors may be a little bit fond of the Deathless. When my copy of the base game arrived, I got my Azrael out, and after fiddling with it a lot because it kept trying to fall apart, got a shot of it and put it in the Convocations chat saying, "Hey Ash, your taxi is here."
Yeah, having all these models is very, very fun for sure. And yeah, I can't wait to play this thing. Hold on. Let's pull up. Let me put away these Titans real quick. I will say, as part of the pictures, I had to pull out everything, take pictures of it all, and then put it all back, because boy, is there a lot of parts. So I hope you guys appreciate the photos and everything. All of the photos that I took are in the Discord, in the Eve Universe Show channel. If you guys want to check out like all the pictures that I took, I tried to get at least one good picture of every single model.
While you're getting stuff lined up for talking about Havoc, do you want me to talk about Succession, since that's the one thing you don't have?
Yeah, why don't you talk about Succession a little bit?
So, Succession, this is the expansion that for some reason we can't figure out why doesn't come in a base bid. But what it does is it gives alternate empire boards for multiple alternate empire boards for each of the empires. Out of the box, the stats of income, build, and research are identical for all empires. With these, they become variable. In addition to that, it comes with a small deck of new strategies and new text to develop.
Yeah, the idea of the succession or whatever expansion is that it's about different commanders, right? The different
Yes.
empires' commanders.
Yep.
Which you were
And it
hoping
comes-
would have lore implications, but it doesn't look like these characters are A, named, or B, from anywhere.
Yeah, it also comes with a plastic frame because one of the nice things in the core game is that the base empire boards are nice multi-layered cardboard so that the cubes that represent your actions and your ISK and those kinds of things don't slide all over the place. They give you these plastic boards to where you still have that feature when you're using the variable things. This, I think, is going to be very significant for adding replayability. Because with this, you can sit there and say, okay, let's randomly deal everybody a separate commander, and like they each have different commander abilities. I'm looking at some of the Glinte ones. This one, the fourth and fifth actions, you always have 3 actions. You can spend ISK to get up to 2 more. This guy buys his extra actions for 2 ISK less. This commander, when he does a claim, he can claim 2 systems instead of 1. So it adds asymmetry to the game, and that's going to be huge for increasing replay.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Anybody wants to pick that up for me, let me know. You too can be forgotten about who helped me. God damn it. All right, so let's jump into the Havoc expansion, because the Havoc expansion is interesting. So, like, you have the base game is for 4 players, right? You have the 4 empires. We kind of know how that works with Amar versus Mimitar, Galente versus Caldari, etc., etc. But then there is the Havoc expansion, which introduces the Deathless as kind of a rogue agent, fifth person, right?
With a very different player board than the others that is tracking, for some reason, something called salvage and something called corruption. I wonder what they could be.
Yeah. So he clearly uses different mechanics.
He has a completely different win condition than anyone else.
Reminds me a little bit about the board game that I like, which is Battlestar Galactica.
Yes.
Because you have you can be a human or a Cylon, and then the Cylons and then you can also be like support. You can have like specialty roles that have totally separate.
Yep.
Like in the basic game, Cylons want the humans to lose, humans want to survive, but then you can get these weird like infiltrator positions where you want one side to win, but then you also want some other thing to happen, and so you're like trying to manipulate things on a whole different level.
That game originally came from Fantasy Flight, and it was recently reissued. They lost access to the Battlestar Galactica.
Good.
They lost access to the Battlestar Galactica IP, and so they reissued it as part of their Arkham Files games. It's now called Unfathomable, and instead of you being on the Galactica, you're on an ocean liner trying to get from London to Boston, but there's Innsmouth fishmen on board, and that's how they do the trader mechanic. You are in that one, you might be a hybrid or you might be a cultist. If you're a cultist, you want the fishmen to win, but you want to be a certain distance from shore because you can't breathe water. You're still going to need to swim.
It's starting to look a lot like fishmen. Right.
Now, so a couple of things that are different with the Deathless. Everyone has 3 hexes that are their starting places. Okay? For the Deathless, for most folks, there are 3 hexes along the board edge that are part of the frame. For the Deathless, there are 3 tiles. One representing the Angel's base, one representing the Garista's base, and one representing the Fulcrum. And these are placed in the grid. They replace 3 of the normal tiles you would explore. The Fulcrum is right dead center, and the other 2 are at opposite far ends of the board.
I
When
like the fact that there's a Mecha Ball and a Kizreal.
when you're playing the Deathless, you're trying to encourage criminal activities to take place to up the corruption level in the overall game. And that's one of the things that you will track on your player board, what the current corruption level is. If you manage to get the corruption all the way to the top of this, the game immediately ends and the Deathless wins.
Hot damn. So here's another point about the quality of these pieces. I wanted to get a really close-up shot of this. Like the Dramiel, the points on the Dramiel are like very high quality.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that they actually have little tiny spikes is very cool.
Pew. And this is actually one place on mine where I can see a slight flaw in that on the left-hand wing toward the back, most of mine have what looks like a mold connection point.
Well, I mean...
So if you're a hobbyist, you may want to clean these guys up a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just saying there are always going to be these kinds of printer errors potentially, but like I'm just saying, like overall the quality is very high.
They're phenomenal. That's not a slam on them at all. But I do historical miniatures as well. By the way, guys, in case you haven't figured out, if it's not gambling, I probably play it. I do historical miniatures as well, and the amount of time you have to spend cleaning up pewter and such as that is terrible.
Dutch Gunner, we're just covering the board game, so we're going over all the different details, and now we're looking at the Havoc expansion.
Oh, Dutch, you get to see how ugly Norin is for real.
There you go. I didn't say that. Yeah, so and there is the different like Angel and Garissa's ships, Mecha Ball, Worm, etc. So that's cool.
Yep. And then it adds some more of the general components because, now there's someone else trying to build structures. So it comes with a few more structure tokens and things like that. And then, of course, he has his own decks, including a special deck that is unique to him. That is his Conspiracies deck. It kind of replaces the Mission deck.
Right. Hold on. Let me open that up real quick.
And it should also be noted that if you have the Azrael Titan, that becomes part of the Deathless's win condition as well. Okay. Yes, very well. Lio, very well said, and that's just a general modeler thing. Anytime you're dealing with a model that you're going to want to paint, you want to give it a light wash in lightly soapy water, especially if it's a resin. These aren't resin, but it's especially true of that, to wash away the chemicals that released it from the mold.
It'll stop paint from sticking. Yeah. That's true. Yeah, you always want to do a little bit of cleanup on your models before you before you paint them too much. Which remember, I mean, you can paint them however you want because they can be skinned, but these are Tech 2 ships. So consider the Tech 2 paint jobs.
Yes. And unlike in Eve, I mentioned, I'm not a big fan of skins because, the rock doesn't melt faster if your ship is skinned. When you're talking physical models, any wargamer will tell you that the unpainted models die first.
That's true. Resin is a material that I generally don't like working with when it comes to miniature models and painting. Yeah,
it can be a challenge.
Definitely plastic.
Yeah, these are not resin models. The price would have been triple if it was. They're a softer style of plastic. They're not the same grade of plastic that you would find in, say, a Warhammer kit or something like that. At the end of the day, though, it's very well done. Resin, right now I'm working a fair deal with a game called Conflict 47, which is a weird War II game based off of the bolt action rules, which is a very good historical game. There's a lot of resin in those kits, so I'm getting to do a whole bunch of resin stuff. One fun thing that I'm modeling right now, I got a armored car for my officer. I play British in that game. It came with Princess Elizabeth as the driver, which has some historical connotations.
All right. Let's see. Is
I'm
there
looking at
anything else we want to show
um
off? Is there any questions, comments, concerns that anybody has? Is there anything we haven't shown off yet? Oh, I do have a starter pack code that I'll probably do as a giveaway.
yeah.
Probably not today, but soon. We'll figure out how to do that.
Yeah,
in
on
a
the
way
back
that's
of
good.
the back of the skin card there was a starter pack that you got as well.
Yep. I turned in the skin pack, obviously, but not the starter pack yet. All right. Well, let's see. Oh, shoot. Hold on. Oh, potential spam. Hold on a second.
Me, by the way. I'm not trying to call you in the middle of a stream.
All right. That was a spam call. It was a spam call. So I'm back.
So I think I'm looking at the checklist I'd written of things to talk about. The only thing that I have on my checklist that we haven't touched on is the game's future, where it could go from here.
Right. Right. So the thing that I keep coming back to is the quality of this production. It is a very high, like, as I said before, this is the kind of board game, like, I used to have a lot of board games when I was a kid. And I even had, like, some pretty sophisticated board games with a whole bunch of miniatures. Like, I had this Marvel board game with a whole bunch of little miniatures back in, like, the 90s.
I'm going off camera to grab something.
Sure. But, like, this is by far the highest production value board game that I've seen in, like, personally, and this is a product that can only exist in a Kickstarter backed board game world that, like, saw this massive revelation. You know, like during the 2010s, you know, board games kind of saw a revitalization, especially around Kickstarter, and people, you know, were, because Kickstarter is one of those things that, like, you want to get funded, but then you want to ramp it up as far and high as possible. So, you know, you might as well get it done. Sorry, go on.
Let's talk for a moment about board games on Kickstarter. Okay.
Okay.
Because in general, advice I have frequently gotten, okay, is be wary of games on Kickstarter because you're probably never going to see anything. That statement is less talking about board games and more talking about video games.
That's true.
There's a very big difference between the two. When you're kickstarting a video game, someone has an idea they want to go prove. It may not work. It may turn out to be a bad idea. With a board game, there's a real game already there. It has almost certainly already been play tested. All they're looking for is the funding for manufacturing.
Right. And so to jump in on that, the critical thing here, because I've done Kickstarters before, you know, I've helped run Kickstarters, especially for games. You're exactly correct, which is that the big thing is that you go to Kickstarter when you have an idea and need to go to production, right? But the problem is with a video game, production is like 90% of the discovery process of what the game actually is, right? Whereas with a board game, it's all of the game gets kind of conceptualized early using, you know, stand-in pieces or whatever. So by the time that they're going to Kickstarter, it's usually just production time, which is physical construction, which has a known cost. So it's easier to price out not only the tiers for the board game, but also to understand that, like, okay, well, we've hit threshold. That means it will be produced. When it comes to video games, oftentimes people don't appreciate how much it costs to actually make a video game. And so even though they get this big Kickstarter, especially since Kickstarters have a tendency to also balloon scope because of stretch goals, you end up with this world where it's like, well, okay, can we actually deliver it with that price? And that ends up being a trouble.
Yeah, and you still have to look for companies with a good history. Okay.
Right.
One of my absolute favorite things, I will kickstart back them till the cows come home, is a company called Slugfest Games that produces a hilarious card game called Red Dragon Inn. It's basically your average D&D group. The trip to the dungeon is over. We're back at the tavern, and we're now getting smashed and spending all the money that we got in the dungeon.
Right.
It's a really fun game. They recently kickstarted their 10th starter box. They're great. You were talking about quality, and I wanted to just randomly grab something here. This is a zombie gorilla.
Hold on, let me make it big.
Yep.
Oh shit! Hold on, let me make. Okay, you're big.
Okay, and I have a screen in front of me. There we go. A zombie gorilla and a zombie crocodile from the Wild West version of Zombicide from a company that's unfortunately no longer with us called CMON, though this IP is being preserved by Fantasy Flight Games. This is what Eve is. These guys are considered one of the examples of how to do Kickstarters right. Again, in general, they recently had issues. And the quality that they produce. CMON is short for Cool Mini or not. Eve is absolutely on par with these guys.
Right.
Now, mentioning them also brings up something else that was worth noting, and that is everything Ash said about your production cost is predictable and such as that. Those statements recently had a gargantuan monkey wrench thrown into them that actually killed CMON.
Yeah. So I kind of want to set the stage for just a second. Like I said, during the 2010s, we see this massive revitalization of board games and tabletop games in general. We have, D&D 5th edition comes out. It's very popular. We have Critical Role. We have kind of this kind of like new era of tabletop gaming where adults with adult incomes are spending adult income money on board games and tabletop games. And so this kind of this revitalization. And then comes COVID, which is like this kind of ultimate test where everybody now has to go inside and stuff. And so social games actually, especially tabletop games, actually see a bit of a like supercharged from that, in the fact that like everybody kind of goes in and tries to figure out their own thing, and things like really good board games like the EVE Online board game kind of comes out of that.
It also saw a huge surge in role-playing games. That's when I have a Traveler game of Pirates of Drenax that started as my board game group getting together on Discord to play role-playing games, since it was no longer safe to be in the same room.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that made this possible is, to be frank, global trade, right? The fact that you can manufacture these pieces
where it is most efficient, or where it's most efficient.
Right. So you can build all these different pieces all over the world and put them together, and there's kind of this sophisticated network of funding through Kickstarter, production groups to make the molds by demand, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, in a way, it's even accentuated by things like the YouTube world, where like all of a sudden there's all these YouTubers that want to sell their merchandise. So you have a bunch of plushies and models, and just like the idea of like
really cool mugs.
Yeah, real cool mugs, T-shirts, etc. Like these things get like amplified in the world. And then, so everybody gets really, really excited about this stuff. They do their big productions. CCP's one of those people that's like, okay, we're going to make this really awesome game. People like put in the money for it. And then last year happened. Yeah, the tariffs. And, however, we don't like to necessarily talk too much about the actual politics of things in the real world on this stream, but it is absolutely true that the tariff situation has been really, really bad for this particular side of the hobby, and almost jeopardized this game's production.
Yeah, well, less it's production, more it's delivery. So here's first of all, I can't remember which YouTube video I saw this on, but someone who's a game producer, it might have been Stonemeyer, had commented on how decentralized in some ways game production now is. And the example that was given was a product where the punch boards and the actual game board were printed in one country. The dice were produced in a second country. The miniatures were produced in a third country. The pages of the rule book were produced in a fourth country, and the cover of a rule book, of the same rule book, was produced in a fifth country. Every time those pieces crossed a border to get together in the box, a tariff had to be paid, and then it had to be shipped to the consumer.
Right. And the big problem is, and as I said before, that like one of the nice things about a board game versus a video game is that your costs are much more calculatable in the beginning. But then when something like this happens, like the nice thing about that kind of distributed production is that you end up being able to be extraordinarily efficient. The only reason why these productions are even able to be done at all is due to this level of like global networking and infrastructure and how trivial comparatively it is to do this, all this stuff. But it also makes it particularly vulnerable to disruption in global trade. And so this delay, I believe it delayed and almost like there was a lot of concern about the shipping of this game.
Well,
and as you pointed out, it destroyed the other company you were mentioning.
Yeah, well, CMON had kind of overextended. They put themselves in a vulnerable place by overcommitting to some expensive IPs. So they probably would have survived that without the tariffs messing with their Kickstarters, but the two together killed them.
They did the Telltale game thing.
Yeah, to an extent, yes. Yeah. Basically, I was actively involved in multiple Kickstarters at the point that the tariffs hit, and it was very interesting at the time to see how the different companies handled them. Now, headline up front talking about Eve, Titan Forge Games basically reached out almost as soon as it happened, basically saying, we can no longer afford to bring this game into the United States. If the tariffs stay as they are at this point in time, we will either have to charge you an immense amount of money to cover the tariff, which we don't think is fair, or we will lose money on the game. So we are holding it at the docks until the situation changes. And there was a delay in it leaving the manufacturer to come to other countries when there was a temporary waiver in tariffs. And they very quickly, there were emails sent out very quickly going, the rule has changed. We have a 2-week window. The boat is sailing now. Some of the other games that I was involved in at the time, I also kickstarted an excellent game, by the way, called Tend by IV Studios, which was a very highly produced game as well. It didn't have miniatures, but it had lots of custom dice, and custom dice is something that cannot be made on the North American continent. The facilities don't exist. They took the position of, we're going to lose money on this game and we're going to eat it. We believe we have the resources to survive. We're telling you this because we're going to accelerate other Kickstarters to try and make up for this.
Right.
And then there's some other companies that just straight up said, look, we're sorry, we have to charge you more. This is how much the additional shipping will be. You have the option of either paying it or we'll refund your Kickstarter.
High quality dice are not that easy to make. There's actually
In
a
bulk,
really
and recognize in bulk is the key thing.
that's fair too. So there's actually a really great YouTube video by Smarter Every Day where he tried to make a new just clean like a grill cleaner, just a very simple like thing, but he wanted to make it 100% in the United States, and the complete absence of machining tools, like the tools that allow you to build the molds, not just the molds, not just the mold injector, but literally the tool that it would allow you to make the tool to build the thing, just doesn't exist in the United States.
I mean,
in a lot of cases.
For many, one of the largest game companies out there that's a name probably most folks will recognize, one that I currently don't care that much for, Games Workshop. They produce Warhammer 40,000, etc. They manufacture models in the United States using molds that were shipped from overseas because the means of making the molds doesn't exist in the US.
Yep. Yeah, but so the bottom line is that, if you're interested in this game, you can still get it. There were extra copies that were made. They are available at stores. Buy them at a local store, local
If you can, yes.
person, if you can. Why? Because so if you buy it from the distributor, that's fine and good and gets you it, and does get like marked as like, oh, people are interested in this. But if you let your game store know that you want it by buying it, then they become a person who's advocating for more copies to be built, and a game store owner will have a lot more influence on whether or not something continues to be produced than an individual person buying it, right?
Additional point. A game store owner saying, this product is selling well, I want to sell more of the same product to the same person, makes it more likely that the game is going to see expansion.
Right. And I guess there's two different things there too, because there is expansions, which honestly, I would argue that what is on offering is a pretty, it already has 3
huge.
expansions.
Well,
so like, even if it doesn't expand any further, like
content-wise 4.
Okay, great. Yeah, exactly. So like, it's already more than say Battlestar Galactica as far as the game goes. But just making sure that it remains in print.
Mm-hmm.
Battlestar Galactica has 3 major expansions. Sorry.
Yeah, I was sitting here going, I think it was 2. Because Fantasy Flight Games as an organization, and they're the ones that produce Battlestar Galactica, they almost have a negative reputation for making too many expansions for games. If you've ever tried to keep up with 2nd edition Arkham Horror, the board game, you know what I'm talking about.
And like I said, for a true collector, honestly, like compared to, and I've gotten models from the very first set that they put out. Hold on. Like I've got, real quick. Come on, don't fall apart too much. Okay. So I got this resin model that's the original. Now, obviously, this is the highest quality one that I have. I got the Stratios from a couple years ago, and it even just kind of fell apart, and it has magnets that are not nearly as cool, but like it's pretty detailed and good. And this was what I got like on Christmas a couple years ago, or a year ago, or whatever it was. And then I've got this Megathron from the 20th anniversary. And this one's pretty decent too. And now obviously all of these are bigger, but as far as just like getting a bunch of models of your EVE Online stuff to put on a shelf to show how cool they are, like this is great just for the models.
Yeah, I had at one point in time I had the Rifter USB hub.
I have that too, yeah. It's in the other room.
Mine unfortunately fell victim to a cat that liked to climb shelves. Now again, thinking about the future of the game, Everything you said about this is a complete game and it has healthy expansion content is absolutely true. I think there is room for expansion in this game.
I think that the room for the expansion of the game is really obvious, and it's going to tie into Vanguard. Like, if you were going to do another expansion, it would be Ground.
I didn't think of that. That's not your statement is correct, but that's not one of the ways that I saw this thing going. Effectively, we've got a game entirely in high sec. Let's add low sec. Let's add null sec. Let's add wormholes, hexes that move around the board effectively. We've got 2 of the pirate factions represented through the Deathless. Let's get an expansion in that lets everyone start taking SOE ships. Someone said
Sancha would make a good new
would love
ally.
to see models.
Yeah.
As much as Eve itself has expanded with content since I first played it back when I mined uphill both ways in the snow, this game can leverage every one of them.
Yeah. And that is one of the cool things about like CCP and the development of EVE Online properties just broadly, is that because of the nature of EVE Online, CCP, whenever they make something, they make the game, but then they think about like, okay, well, what are the alternative play styles going to do in this game in a way that like a lot of other games don't. Vanguard's a good example of this, right? Vanguard's an extraction shooter, but a large amount of development design theory that CCP has put into it is actually thinking about what the non-straight up first-person shooter dudes are going to be doing in that game and make it like meaningful to be a miner or an industrialist, or because like those are valid play styles in EVE, and therefore they are valid ideas. As you mentioned, like there are literally tasks to be a Care Bear in this game. Like it fancies different play styles, not just like the one raw military like strategy, like say Risk might do, where like
and
there's one real way to win Risk.
And let's recognize something else here, okay? CCP has a history with board games, okay?
That's actually true. That's actually really true.
Two interesting pieces of trivia here. I don't remember the name of it. I could probably look it up on Board Game.
Danger Game.
No, not Danger Game. I'm not thinking. There was previously an EVE board game. This isn't the first EVE board game.
There's an EVE card game.
Card game. That was it. It was a card game.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And as you mentioned, Danger Game. For those of you who are not old enough that you're starting to fossilize the way Ash and I are, CCP funded the first tech demo of EVE by publishing a board game called the Danger Game.
Yep. Actually, so the real story is that the Icelandic government paid CCP to make a board game, because it's effectively an anti-drug ad. Likes to that's the surface level of it. It's to kind of show
Dutch, I am
how
so
bad.
jealous of you. What? I wanted that so bad. I am jealous. Once again, I am jealous of Dutch.
I have it too.
For those
I played it. It's really fun.
For those of you who have not flown with Dutch, it's easy to be jealous of him because he's so good at what he does.
He is really awesome. Yeah, so they produced the Danger Game for the Icelandic government, and that's how they got their initial. Yes, it's not technically pronounced or like said. It's Icelandic for Danger Game. I'm not gonna try to pronounce Icelandic for Danger Game. You can just see that real there and just make your own decisions about how to pronounce it.
So many words in my own language. I'm not touching that.
It's an, what is it? Hatzelspill? Spill?
And actually, Dutch, you're correct. The guy that is now the mayor of Reykjavik, or at least was the mayor of Reykjavik at the 10th anniversary,
I'm gonna have to go get this thing.
Had been in the artwork of the original game as a old lady that's getting mugged.
Yep.
And he agreed to come back and redo that photo shoot for the second game.
Yeah, hold on. I got it. Probably. Hold on. Yeah, for the 10th anniversary of Eve Collector's Edition, they reprinted the Danger game, but they did it with all like this different CCP actors were the different characters, except for this is the mayor of Reykjavik in drag. But yeah, like all these characters, all these people are like CCP dudes, other than the mayor, of course. And this is actually, if you go and watch, there's an Eve Fan Fest from this era where the mayor comes on and says hi to everybody and stuff. But you can see like, what's his name? There's also CCP Guard right there too.
And you know, kind of like looking at, I did research on Titan Forge Games, the company that makes this. And by the way, if you're trying to research them, there is a video game company of the same name that will really confuse Google. They have effectively 3 previous games. A game about mass military tank-based combat by animals, and 2 different versions of something of a game called Lobotomy, where you're an asylum inmate that has been declared uncurable and you're trying to escape the asylum before you're lobotomized. What told CCP that a company with a game history like that was the right company to make their game? The fact that they know board games already, and they were able to see the value in the mechanics of those games and say, hey, here's a ball from left field, why don't you make a space game for us? And the products lives up to it. They hit the mark.
Yep. Yeah, I did not get the structure set or the succession expansion as you guys are Malcolm. I would love to get them, but you know, we'll see.
I don't see much value to the structures. Again, that's going to take up table space. Now, one thing that's worth noting, and you may not, I didn't realize this until just a couple of days ago. The pink fortress that we got, it's not meant to be a gameplay piece, but it is meant to be a functional tool. It's based on a suction cup.
Right. I did notice that.
So that you can use the suction cup to lift the tiles out the grid when you need to flip them over.
Oh, okay.
That's meant to be a tool for tile flipping.
Even if you don't get that though, it does come with a suction cup doodad in the base set too. Yeah. But no, I love these just so I can have a model of a Reiter and a Athenor personally.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm a Care Bear industrialist. I actually have a warm place in my heart for a customs office.
Yeah, the customs office would be good, but I want the Athenor, man. That thing looks cool. How much is that?
Paint it
30, like 30 lira or 30 pounds.
Yeah, 30 pounds. I mean, well, if you get one, you'll have 8 of them. You need to paint at least one in convocation colors.
Yes. Oh yeah. I really think I need to start painting these things.
And here's what you really need to do. Okay, do a little film thing where it's floating beside a cantaloupe, and then shoot the cantaloupe to simulate our moon mining.
There you go. We'll get the sound effects from the moon mining. Oversized version succession expansion. Okay, but does the succession expansion come with anything to be oversized?
I don't know what it would be.
That's weird.
You don't want the cards bigger, or they're no longer going to fit the cubes.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't actually say. It just shows like, hey, look, it's a bigger box. It's a much bigger box. It's like 4 times as big. I don't know, man.
I have no idea why you'd want that. Again, like I said, does it add to the gameplay? Succession, yes. Succession in a big box,
But I'm not going to lie, though. I'm going to keep coming back to 40 pounds or however much this is for the large ship set. If you like these ships, this is cool.
If you're an Amarr pilot and you just like the Amarr ships with no interest in the game, I think the Amarr ship set would be a good purchase.
Absolutely.
And to be perfectly honest with you, if Galente hadn't sold out at my FLGS when I was in there the other day, I would have bought that one box for that reason. I'm never going to play with it, but it's going to look cool on the shelf.
Yeah. And it looks like they're about twice as big as the base models.
Yeah, and again, when you actually, one thing that I think most of your viewers would know is they use these models to demonstrate some tactics during
Mm-hmm.
the recent Alliance tournament. It was the big models they were using.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Which, low-key, I suspect that there's a part of CCP that wanted this game to be made just so that they could have all this stuff produced and have it. You know?
Well, they I would not be surprised if in the walls of CCP there are lots of board gamers.
Yeah. But it seems very particular that they would go for this fancy of ship models. It feels like this was just a really good way of getting all of the ship models produced very quickly.
Yeah. And those molds now exist. I mean, these.
Yeah.
I'm 90% sure these were steel injection molds, given some of the markings I see on mine. And that in the technology of making models, there's different ways of doing it. And different kinds of molds wear out at different rates. You tend to very quickly become unable to use a mold for pewter, for example, because it's a very soft foam. Injection molds are etched from steel blocks.
Yeah. Man. All right. Well, like I said, let me know if you guys are interested in us trying to make this. I'm going to try to play it soon in person, and then I'll let you guys know what I think of the actual gameplay. Let me know whether or not it's worth it to you guys for us to go through all of the extra effort to be able to play one live. And if you're interested in participating in that and have a copy of Tabletop Simulator, let me know if you're interested in participating, so that way we can jump on that as well.
Yep.
Let's see. Anything else that we want to talk about before?
I think we've talked War for New Eden to death. I think you figured out that if you just want me to keep talking board games in general, I can bring up my whole collection.
Yeah, no, I mean we could, but we're getting at the 2-hour mark, which is a nice
which is a
wrap
nice
up point.
We can only take you in small doses.
No. I'm sure we could have a. Actually, that's a good question. Let's just put it out there. If people are interested in having Norn back on and just talking about board games in general, you've mentioned a bunch of different interesting board games. We could have a whole different topic where we jump into a bunch of board games that you are interested in showing off or talking about. But that might have to be a different, like I said, people can tell me in the comments or in the chat if that's one of those things to be interested in. And, luckily Norn had the availability to come and pop on today, but we can make that happen again if people are really interested in it.
Yeah, I mean, I could probably sit down and curate a list of, hey, if you like Eve, here are other games you would like. I've already mentioned a few of them. I would recommend Ascendancy to someone that likes Eve. I would recommend Firefly the board game to someone who likes Eve, or Outer Rim, which is a Star Wars themed one instead, because that's more of you running a ship.
That's cool.
But yeah, if you would like me to help you generate more content, I think I could figure out ways to do that.
Hey, I'm just happy to come and chat with you, and thank you so much for what you do for the convocation as well.
Oh, glad to do it. I mean, I've been a little off my game lately doing real world stuff, but I mean the Eve in general, not just the board game of it. Eve in general is something that I love, and bumping into you a few years ago is what reminded me of that and brought me back. So to an extent, me doing something like this is paying you back.
Well, I appreciate it, man, and I'm that's why I do what I do, is because people like you have said that before, and that makes it worth continuing.
Yep.
All right. Well, I could jump into a couple of other topics, but I think that this is actually probably a good episode as it is. So for some future stuff that I've got coming up, I've still got my 10 things that I recommend for newer players in EVE Online. I need to put... I will say this, guys. Like, ADHD sucks. And there's this thing called the wall of awful. So, like, one of the problems I've been running into is actually, like, editing my videos. So I do need... I have the tanking guide, especially. Now, the lore one is another fucking 7 hours. So, yikes to editing. But the I need to put together at least the armor tanking or the tanking guide as a split off video for next year. But this year, one of the things I've been thinking about is like how, what are we going to do for this year? And what I'd like to do is maybe jump more into Kato Ash or some other like alpha or newer player content to do things like missions and Abyss and mining and kind of show off how I would do those sorts of things or tackle those problems. Just to see how it works. And like, we can do things like, so one of the things I was thinking about doing is like, so I want to do mission running soon. And so I might try to like, without looking it up, pick a ship, make a mission ship like fit for it, and then go and look up the popular mission fits for it to see how good of a fitting person I actually am. To see how garbage my actual fits that I try to come up with by myself are. But the other thing is yesterday, to avoid editing, I instead set up 2 new presentations. We have been talking a lot about the Yantey presidential election, a lot about Ore, a lot about Deathless, and all these kinds of things. And so I really wanted to go back to my roots. So I have 2 more presentations ready to go now. One is on the Ugali situation, which we did a video about a few years ago. But that was like a lot has happened since then, not necessarily with Ugalis, ironically enough, but like I think that we have an interesting idea, or it'd be a good one to go over because it's kind of a complete story. They haven't really done anything with Ugalis in 2 years. But that was actually part of a larger research program where I am rediving into the Triglavian collective with an idea of like trying to figure out the differences between the clades. So I've been taking all of the lore, everything that's happened to the Triglavian collective since the formation of Pochvin, and I want to walk through that whole story with an idea of trying to understand what the clades have done since then and what we can tell about the difference between the clades. Because I think that that's a big piece that we've all missed up until now. What's up?
Well, and one other lore thing in general, because I mean that's where you're a Grandmaster Ninja, is in the lore. We're both of the opinion that those faces going back to the game on Succession are just schmucks. If anyone can prove us wrong and put names to those faces, I think an episode or 2
Correct.
of this is who this is and this is why they got in the box would be cool.
Yeah, there's quite a few characters that get shown off in the game, but so far the only one that seems to be recognizable is the Amar one, which is
well, and the Deathless, but we know him.
Yes.
Well. But I mean, I'm just gonna do a quick count again.
Hold on. Where was it?
Yeah, each empire has 6, and actually, one downside of Succession, there are not alternate boards for the Deathless. His mechanics are so weird, though. I don't know how they do it. But yeah, there's like 6 guys for each empire, and if faces could be put, if names could be put to the faces, an episode of who is this guy, why is it important, I think would be cool. In my, well, not just my video game world, I have some board games with lore as well. Kingdom Death Monster for the win. The lore is something that draws me to games in general, personally, and the fact that, like I said, you're the Grandmaster Ninja of lore is half of what keeps me listening.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like that stuff, so it would be cool to look into. But like I said, from my initial review of the characters,
you didn't recognize any of them.
Like, he looks like Zerdan Sirkosh, I think, right? Hold on. We can go to the factional warfare area. Does it not? say his name here? It doesn't say his name here, does it?
But that
This
does
is Serdan Zerkosh, right? Hold on, I'm trying to remember because there's two Amar guys. No, yeah, this is Serdan Zerkosh. And then so if we look at the actual board game, we can see like he looks very similar to Serdan Zerkosh. But the other ones that is definitely not. Well, hold on. I mean that to call that. Well, actually, no. Wait, hold on. No, I'm wrong. Hold on. That's Haikatorigo. Like it's hard to tell from here. Like the face does look very, very different, but her tattoo is the same.
Yeah,
she has the same dotted tattoo on the side. And that would make a lot more sense
for them to have used the faction warfare reps as
because they introduced these characters.
Yeah, those are the base board empires. Those are the boards that come in the main game. That's not Succession.
I don't think I'm going to be able to pull up her. Hold on.
Because I don't, in the back of my mind, I don't see CCP just throwing random art at Titanforge and saying, use these faces, they're nobody. A company like CCP would have put thought into who they sent over for that artwork.
Yeah, but at the same time, they may actually explicitly not want to invoke specific characters. But it does make sense for them to work with the, like, because they did introduce these characters as part of this whole event. Hold on. Here we go.
Steadfast, the indomitable spirit of the Caldari Way.
So yeah, you can see there.
Yeah, that's definitely her.
Even though she doesn't, like, she looks very different.
A shining example of the indomitable.
It looks like it's a trying to be her for sure. So that's interesting. But the thing is that like, so that could be Haikatorigo. I have a doorbell. Hold on a second.
This is among the things that gets edited out. Doorbell takes too long. I might have to start singing. Talking about the visual upgrades, Malcolm, I agree they look great. I'm avoiding and sometimes I do get those kinds of things. I'm avoiding them specifically in this game because it's already such a big footprint on the table without them.
So, okay, hold on. This gets a little bit more interesting. If we look at this guy, this is the head of the Mimitar. Oh God, I can find a video with him in it too. Hold on. This is why you have me around, because I know what to look up when I need to look something up.
Oh yeah, I mean life lesson, something I told my son long ago. You don't need to know things. You need to know where to find things.
Yeah, that's true. Hold on. Let's see. It would be it'd be the Uprising trailer. Or maybe it would be the scope video right before the Uprising trailer. Hold on, let me look at the teaser real quick.
By the way, I can neither confirm nor deny that I turned this into a lore conversation to poke the bear.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. First of all, here's a much better picture of Haikatorigo. So you can see that tattoo on her face.
Yep.
I think that's her name, right? Hold on. Yeah, that's her name, right? I'm not confusing her with the Garistas person. I'm absolutely not confusing my names together. No, she was Etsuri Hokusotsu.
I'm lucky if I can remember my own name. So
Yeah. I'm so bad with names normally, but I'm actually kind of impressed with my ability to pull up names right now. Let's not test it too much. Eve Online Scope Turner. Because it was around the Turner destruction that led to some really good shots. Here's I think this is Serdan Sakosh.
that looks a bit different. Oh no, the first guy, the Amar guy. Yeah. No, I yep.
And then no, that's not them. Hold on. We have
Another piece of random lore of my family. I mentioned my wife's also a board gamer. She's also an online gamer. In fact, we met online.
there he
she
is. Sorry, go on.
She is among the people that CCP lost when they shut down walking in stations. She had dreams of running a tea shop on Jita.
Oh God, what is his name? Kenneth? Is this Kenneth Filmer? The problem is that Mimitar has two different leaders. One is there's Krilla Frit, who I think is the guy who's fighting in Skarkon, which would make this Filmer, I think, who's the Mimitar faction warfare guy. So if you compare that to him, like he has dreads, or not dreads, but like cornrows.
Yeah.
But the tattoo is the same.
Yeah, and it feels like the complexion's different as well, though that could easily be shadow.
But well, and that's the thing, is that these look like
artist renditions of people.
I hate to say this. I'm going to say it. Okay, this looks like it could be AI art of those people. Like I hate to say it that way, but like it does look like a different, an artistic rendition of those characters.
And let's hope that came from a
version
human
of
and
that.
not a machine.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's definitely going to be accusations of it one way or another, probably, just because of the way that they look aesthetically. But the thing that stands out to me, though, the most, and the one that made me not think that this is true, is that this is Syliana Vel'ash is not a blonde, and she doesn't have that tattoo. So while we could hum and haw about the other three,
that's definitely someone else.
Leadership, yeah, that is not. Oops, my camera's off.
So hang on. So that's
not
the
same character. Yeah.
That's the Galente one, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Let me go through real quick and see if on the succession cards she's on one of them. I mean, she's not the one on the main card, but is she one of these folks on the succession cards?
I don't know anybody in the Galente that is a blonde.
No, none of these are blondes.
Especially with any level of command. Hold on, let me... I actually recently got back into Eve Galaxy Conquest, and actually originally, because we've been talking so much about the lore, that I wanted to be able to pull up these characters to be able to show images of them. So hold on, let me pop in real quick.
Yeah, and can you flip back to the faction warfare screen?
Sure.
I wait for the delay to catch up with me.
I'm trying to think of whether or not there's any good close-up shots of Fiona Vel'ash. I don't know if there is.
Yeah, and I don't think that person on the faction warfare screen is anywhere among these. Half of them are male, and all of them have different tattoos among the females. Galente seems to like tatting the ladies.
Well,
based on this art.
The Galente are the biggest into body modifications, just broadly. Let me hold on a sec. Let me look at this trailer to see whether or not there's anything in here. I don't think so. Yeah, it's definitely not Celis Agard.
There's the three female females in succession for Galente.
Hold on,
And
let me look at this real quick. Yeah, nope. Go back to the cards. I
back
pulled
to
you
the
up big.
cards.
There's one. Where's the other two? I can't see the other two people. You're covering.
Oh,
You're
I
only
see.
showing the top card. Okay.
There.
Yeah, I don't know them even a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, but and again, going back to the AI comment, maybe they gave them, they fed AI the general style of each faction and said make people. I'd be a little disappointed if that was the case. A friend of mine recently made the comment of, I want AI to do the dishes while I make art, not make art while I do the dishes.
Yeah, no, that's a solid point. I just like Viola's a blonde, but she doesn't have a tattoo. Yeah, I don't know. There's not that many characters that it could even be. What I find interesting about that is that it's very clear that the other ones, while they are not necessarily exactly the same, or they're kind of a
Clearly,
different conceptualization of those things,
they're
there are
firmly
enough
inspired by
hallmarks. Yeah, there's enough hallmarks to show that they probably are the same characters. So it is true that of the four, Fiona has had the worst time of it. So maybe it's a premonition that Fiona's time as military commander is not long for this world.
Or yeah, I was about to say, and the Galente seem to be going through the most political upheaval at the moment. Maybe this is from the next administration.
That's just a theory, a game theory. No, that is very interesting.
My son, who also is an amateur streamer, would be grinning ear to ear from the reference you just made.
Yeah. Man, I'm trying to think. Because like Celis Agard and Fiona Ravelli are, obviously pretty big deals in the modern day. But other than that, the Galente don't have that many like prominent female characters. There's a couple of female senators, like the mayor of Arcurio.
According to some art that I saw, every which one is the Astaros, the not catalyst destroyer, every one of them has a few women on board in the back from what internet art says.
No, you're talking about the Navitas.
Navitas. Okay, yep. Navitas.
Yeah, the picture of the Navitas from the Frigates of Eve book. Hold on, I have a ship Frigates of Eve. Can I pull that one up? Yeah, so they made these cutaways of the Frigates of Eve. And one of them was the Navitas, and in that picture, where is it? Hold on. In that picture, they actually put a high-end exotic dancers in cryo, and a chart that says modified to be a pleasure hub. But you can see like they've got their little strippers.
Yeah, there's also another one of those that's one of the destroyers that also, and it's the drone destroyer, not the
There's an
catalyst.
Algos one, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that the Algos that I mean it. So first of all, I mentioned Traveler, which for those who don't know is one of the oldest sci-fi role-playing games in existence, almost as old as D&D. I absolutely love in the world of Traveler how important deck plans are. And I've always wanted to see deck plans of, true deck floor plans of the larger Eve ships.
Yeah. Yeah, there are a few. Hold on a second.
They rarely. I've got Once Upon a Time.
There was the Myrmidon.
Yeah. The Myrmidon got a nice schematic, and there was a few other ships at the same time as that.
Yeah, I probably have this image somewhere bigger.
Now, Jeff, I am someone who was actively playing and very much a fan of Dust 514, the earlier attempt at a first-person shooter in Eve. I have always loved the idea, and it was one thing that at that point in time they were suggesting as a possibility of boarding actions in Eve.
Well, now we've got breacher pods.
We've got breacher pods. Now I want a game where I'm riding in the breacher pod to go do
Right.
things.
No, I understand. Oh, Lee, why can't I find it? There's the Hurricane one. There's the Myrmidon one. So they did the Frigates of Eve book. The reason why the other ones got made, not the Algos one, but the Myrmidon one got made because it was part of actually Dust 514. Actually, because Templar 1, it was part of a advertisement campaign for Templar 1. They
did
because
not know that.
In Templar 1, the main character flies a Myrmidon, and so they came out with a series of schematics. Hold on, Eve Online Myrmidon. I have them all somewhere, but here.
Because I think, yeah, I've still got that piece of Myrmidon art as my banner in Facebook. Because it
So
had
if
the
you-
listings of these are the weapon systems, these are
Yeah.
the command systems.
No, it's a video. Check it out. I'm playing the video right now.
As I find out how far behind I am on the YouTube side. There we are.
They don't die. They just go home.
So I'm dropping into our direct message chat a partial of the image I was thinking of.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, that exists too.
Mm-hmm. The drone bay, the entire reason why this ship exists, and why the Glintay are great. What do you mean, rogue drones? We said we're sorry.
Let's see. When I was trying to find the cutaway of the Algos, I did find... The problem with the cutaway of the Algos, apparently, is that all of the versions of it that I've been able to find off the top of my head right now are all, like, really low quality. So when I try to, like, zoom in, it's garbage. But here's the full Myrmidon one. Ah, what is this? Stop. Close ad. Oh, it's an ad for Eve. Awesome. Well done. Okay. All right. Cool. Good times.
Yeah.
I guess we're done with this.
Yeah. Peeking behind it, though, that is the full image I was thinking of.
Yeah. Link for the Algos. Yay! Here we go. Yeah.
There, yeah, yep. And there's another version of this that has the dancers.
I don't remember that one. I only remember the dancers in the Navitas one. One of the things I have learned from these cutaways is that while sometimes what we think of as the bridge is the bridge, oftentimes that's just the sensor array or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing that another one of my hobbies, I enjoy sci-fi novels, and I'm a big fan of David Weber's Honor Harrington novels. They always stress how the bridge is in the central most protected part of the ship. There is
Yeah.
in the real world, the bridge is on top of the ship because looking out the window is useful. That would not be true in a spaceship.
More likely than not, yeah, for sure.
I mean, I really don't want to roll down the window in the hard vacuum of space. Just speaking for myself.
Well, that's why, like, clear. What is it? There's that, like, material that gets used in sci-fi a lot, where it's like the clear. God, there's like the idea of like it's a type of steel or a type of
Transparent
thing.
aluminum?
Transparent aluminum. That's what it is.
Yeah,
where it's
from
like
Star
super
Trek.
fucking strong.
From Star Trek,
Well,
yeah.
I don't think it's just in Star Trek either. That's a very classic sci-fi trope.
So, little bit of a joke that I picked up on when I actually had the opportunity to work for some naval architects, or with some naval architects. I'm a software solution architect in my day job, and one of my past clients was a shipbuilder that worked on military vessels. And one of their running jokes was, they'd get a spec from the military of what the ship needs to do, and they'd say, we can absolutely build that. It needs to be entirely made out of unobtainium. When you obtain some, let me know. Oh, I don't remember
actually
that
really
one.
cool.
I don't remember
like a
that one.
comparison to like known ships, right? Because it's the.
Oh, yeah, well, the other one does too. The Myrmidon one
my
does too.
fuck. All right.
All right.
You're super cool. Open image in
You're
your
super
tab.
cool, but your frame sucks.
There we go. Golly. All right.
Oh,
IC
okay.
goes boom to A-Wing. Transparent steel from Star Wars Legends. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that what I'm thinking about? I know that like there's there is like a physics thing where like there's supposed to be this transparent version of metal that is actually very, very strong. I thought it was, yeah, either way, whatever.
I know in what was it? Again, going back to the Honor Harrington novels, one of the ways that she becomes wealthy is applying materials technology to construction domes on the planet Grayson, which Grayson is a planet that has such a high heavy metal content, it's like living in a toxic waste dump. And and they were technologically behind her planet, and one of her employees came to her with the idea of using the same steel or the same materials that were being used in starships to build farm domes on the planet.
Yeah, okay. All right. I need to get out of this wormhole real quick while we're chatting. I realize.
Well, okay, for a second there I'm like, okay, is the chat the wormhole? No, wait, he's actually in a wormhole.
No, yeah, because I was there for the bivouac picture.
Right. They and yes, more than once I've said, I now have 10 times the cost of my ship in my hold. It's time to get out of the wormhole.
Yeah, which is from the like that is a classic from the This Is Eve video.
Oh,
which is funny because
I remember that now.
In the This Is Eve video, they show him in an Astero, but in the original recording, he was in I think an Anathema, which 10 times more value than your ship is very different between those two ships. And having, 200 million in your cargo hold is fine. Having a bit over $1 billion in your cargo hold is a bit more stressful.
Well, one of the last times I was in game, I stuck my nose into a wormhole, and the wormhole happened to have like 6 different high-end pirate data and lore sites, and I'm like, okay, yep, it's only been a half hour, but the day is done. I am quitting while I'm ahead. I'm considering going to the local casino.
Yep. I saw an article recently about making wood transparent in the real world. Very transparent metal can be done. It would just require aligning the grains perfectly. Yeah, I think transparent aluminum might be the thing I was originally thinking about.
Yeah, and that was from Star Trek Voyage Home is where I always think of that.
Yeah, and Star Trek at least tries to give like the veneer of science in the science fiction, as opposed to Star Wars, which is much more willing to let it be
Well,
fucking kooky. Which I got recently into Star Wars: The Old Republic, right? And so we were trying to look up something nerdy about like blasters, or like whether or not this is a projectile weapon versus a whatever. And I was trying to look up like the science of it, and it's like, oh, in the Star Wars universe they have physical light, like they have the capacity to make light be physical, and that's just part of their universe. And so like if you accept that that's a thing, then so much of their stuff makes sense, like all their force fields, all their whatever, which is funny because because lightsabers are different kind of, because so I used to be really active on Stack Overflow and like their derivatives. So there's like stack exchange, the different stack exchanges, and one of them's the sci-fi fantasy stack exchange. So I got really down the rabbit hole when it came to like the mechanics of Star Wars to answer questions with that. So like lightsabers are a little bit different because they actually explain that there's effectively a magnetic magnetic force field that constructs the tube, and then it injects it with plasma. And so that's why lightsabers, when they hit each other, stop, because it's actually the force
Magnetic
fields that surround the plasmas interacting with each other, not the plasma itself. That's why the plasma, if anything that can pass through that magnetic field, like say a door, will just get blasted by the plasma.
And Jeff is commenting that there's solid or hard light is in other places. And I was just thinking about that. I know it was in Overwatch because one of the original characters was a hard light sculptor, Symmetra.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm not saying that it isn't in other sci-fi. My point is that when you're trying to evaluate the real life science of it, as soon as you figure out, like EVE Online, right? EVE Online is a game or is a universe in which gravitons exist. Gravitons are theoretical in the real world, but gravitons exist in the EVE Online universe, and they have the capacity to control them, at least to a certain extent. And that makes a lot of their technology just work. You have to assume that gravitons do exist as a physical property of the universe and what they can do. In the same way that, like, in Star Wars, it's like, okay, well, there's physical light. Well, then, okay, great. I no longer have to figure out how they do force fields because there's physical light. That's just the answer.
Yeah, I really like sitting down and looking at what the different piece of the fictional piece of science is to make a sci-fi world work. Like in the Honor Harrington novels, there's really two of them, but one of the big ones is that humanity's reached a point that it can manipulate gravity the way that we currently manipulate electricity. They still don't fully understand it, but they've learned how to manipulate it.
Right, and that's kind of the point in EVE too, and I actually have a whole thing about how gravity is a big thing and how the Triglavians manipulating gravity is a big thing, but it's like how all the Stargates work is a graviton flow. But yeah, I'm pretty sure blasters are plasma bolts. Yes, however, this is what got me into it. When you go and look up blasters in because I was trying to prove that blasters shoot like a physical object. Then if you look it up on the Wikipedia, then it talks about how the earlier generation of the blaster bolt was a light projector, basically. The hard light projector. I can't remember exactly what they call it, but yeah.
Well, it is throwing something physical. It just didn't start physical.
Right, but it's not like a slag of metal or something like that, like a bolter from like Warhammer or something like that. It is just a plasma bolt, or like EVE, where it's like a plasma bolt contained in an electromagnetic field.
And one thing I like with EVE's weapon science is the the railguns versus blasters using the same ammunition, and they're simply each using the same ammunition in a different way.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Because the blaster attempts to, the railgun attempts to keep it contained all the way to its destination point, whereas the blaster basically just ejects antimatter or whatever else at the people.
I thought I'd read it once as the blaster uses the fuel to just project energy, where the casing, it's like the casing is feeding the energy, where with the railgun the energy is projecting the casing. So they kind of invert each other.
Right. So
But you're the
here we
expert,
have
not me.
particle blasters operate on a similar principle to the railgun, except for they fire a magnetically concentrated ball of subatomic particles. No other turret class can match the sheer destructive power of blasters, but due to the rapid dispersion of the containment field, it also disappears when I dock. It also has the worst range of all turrets.
You have no idea how many times I've been in the middle of planet management and I dock and
Yeah. Whereas the railgun says much the same way as a Big Brother, except for it's considerably faster. Railguns use magnetic rails to fire solid chunks of matter at hypersonic speed. The accurate range of the railguns is good, but due to technical limitations. Yeah, so it releases it in the container, so that way it shoots as one element, whereas the blaster just kind of puts a little containment field around the actual payload, and then just shoots that.
Yeah.
Like I said, just ejects antimatter into the universe. Whereas these basically shoot out, I think, cans, because he says it in Xenocracy. Hold on.
Yeah, because I seem to remember that the big difference was in the blaster the casing is consumed. In the railgun the casing is what's thrown.
You say that the antimatter must be small, but whoo boy, hold on. Xena, come on, Chronicles. I guess I just have to type out the whole thing. All right.
And this is why my inability to spell makes me not a lore master.
I have to get over it. Anyway, he goes, what you're seeing now is the largest, is the targeting laser used to aim my battleship's 6 425mm railgun turrets. At this altitude, the gravity of your planet will augment the standard launch velocity of each solid projectile to speed well beyond operational specifications, enough to obliterate everything within a half kilometer of the impact site. Anything between that location and 2 kilometers from ground zero will suffer a worse fate, as the antimatter suspended in each shell escapes its containment field and expands in a random dispersion pattern, colliding with the ambient normal matter on the ground. Buildings, trees, children, everything. Whatever these particles touch will experience matter dissociation on an atomic level, as piece by piece they are reduced to unidentified residual particles. With a single thought, I can reduce your entire city into a smoldering crater. The boiling wind rushing in to replace the void left behind will be laced with the dust particles that were once the bodies of everyone you know and love. Neat. We're monsters.
I was gonna say, and this is your hint to possibly listen to what I am saying.
Yeah. So that's how railguns work. All right, guys. I think I'm going to wrap things up at this point. We've been kind of humming along and gave him an extra half an hour or so of content. So yeah, and my puppy was barking and wants to go out and stuff. So,
well, you got to have priorities.
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure to like the stream and consider becoming a sponsor, so that way I can get my puppy good puppy food and treats and everything. If you are interested, please go ahead and check out the Convocation of Empyreans. We are recruiting and here to maximize player engagement with EVE Online. So if you want to do stuff in EVE Online, come check us out and see if we can help you out with getting it done. And then also just come on and hang out in the Discord. You don't even have to join the Convocation. You can just hang out with us and ask questions and say hi and whatever. And of course, if you want to see my live videos and whatever, we have the media channel where I post the YouTube videos there, and you can flag yourself as interested in them, so that way you get pinged every time that we post stuff there. And if you are returning to EVE, or just for whatever reason have not used the buddy code yet to get 1,000,000 free skill points, you can use the link down below or in chat now to get 1,000,000 free skill points for your character, and that helps out those who help out the stream, including Norin. Norin is one of the people on the cool list of cool people. So go use that link, and there's a chance that Norin will get goodies for it. So, and I thank you all for that. And I thank you, Norin, for everything you do for the convocation, and of course coming so well prepared to discuss this stuff today.
Glad to do it. I mean, you know, it's not hard to be prepared to be a nerd about stuff that you love.
Yeah, it was one of those things that was like I knew that getting the pictures and the unboxing was going to be the big part, because once the two of us got on stream, I was very sure that we would have plenty of stuff to talk about. And in fact, I'm very sure as soon as we go off stream, we're going to be like, damn it, we forgot to talk about X. But I think we covered most stuff.
I wrote a list.
That's why I was excited that you were prepared. That's why I was excited you were prepared.
And let me also say, I mean, I know you and I are excited about it. I hope we can get enough people to properly do it. I think that especially with some of the folks that we often have hanging out on moon mining, getting together and streaming us actually playing this thing and going, how the heck does combat work? What does that die means? That will be both fun and extremely good comedy for those watching from the outside.
So also, guys, before we wrap things up, I do want to point out that it is not the final week yet of the event. Okay, so the final week of the event starts on the 5th, and just a reminder to everybody, that's going to be an extension of the track, and we do not know what the reward for the extension of the track is. So if you want to get, now's a good time to get caught up if you haven't been caught up yet, but we have a couple more days before the final result. But because we've gotten far enough along, I have finally started producing my skin for the Endurance. And we're just going to say accidentally produced 2. So tomorrow, or whenever I stream next, probably tomorrow, but remember, just get in the Discord for whatever, I will have that starter pack code and at least one of these Endurance skins, festival skins, ready to do giveaways for. So it'll be exciting, and we'll probably talk about lore and getting started in EVE Online and how to play and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that's about it. Go ahead and hit me up on Discord if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or want to help become an editor or anything like that, or just join the convocation. Let me know if this has been interesting for you, or if you want Norin to come back and talk about other stuff, etc., etc. But all that said, I've been Ashtarothi. I've been playing these games since 2010, talking about since 2012, and I'm here to put even to context for you, my fellow Empyreans. Thank you guys so much for coming and checking things out. Thank you so much to Norin for putting this all together and contributing and showing off your camera and everything. Very, very much appreciated. And of course, extra special thanks to my top supporters: 745 MPSI, Arydanika the Queen, Bad Boy Smooth, Evo Elite, Erladis, Elange, Flash Gordon, May, Malak, Starfire, Malin, Mercuton, Mayak, Neelam, LM1, Sheesh, Susuro, Thrans, and Rid. Thank you all so much. I've been Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden, and this has been Norin. Go ahead and say one last goodbye or whatever you want to say.
Yeah, as one of those Empyreans, thank you for what you do as well. It's been a real pleasure.
I appreciate it. All right. On behalf of all that, I've been Ashtarothi, the voice of New Eden. Until next time, I'll see you in space.
Bring on the wrecking machine. every city.